All right, so it's Joe here again from Diggin Minnesota. That's my new title, I guess. And like I said, right now, I can't dig right now because the ground's too frozen. But what I can do, actually, is give some helpful tips to people who are just starting on various things they can do to better multiply their chances on finding whatever it is they're looking for when they go out metal detecting. So, again, I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been doing this about a year and a half. I do this full time when I'm actually doing it, which is about 7 to 9 months out of the year, depending on the weather. And so I have about 2 years of experience in 1 year's time. So what I have here in front of me right now is a diagram of a what would be considered a vacant lot. So I'm gonna get real detailed here in a second. Give me a second. And I only got about 15 minutes, so I'll try to make the most out of my time, and that way you will be able to better understand how to dig a vacant lot, because that's what I've been doing most of the time for 2016. So let's get started here. So the first thing you want to do is actually you want to cruise around your town, whether you're in Minnesota or you're wherever you are, and you want to look for areas or vacant places between houses, or it could be with an actual house that's just all boarded up. So, and you want to look for those kind of places if you're doing urban detecting, out not in a park or anything like that. So let's zoom in here real quick. So I got a not so accurate detail of what you're gonna do, but you see, like, there's the street, and then there's the grass divide, the kind of like where you park and then you walk across the grass and you're on a sidewalk. There's a sidewalk, and then there's the actual lot. And sometimes there's gonna be a house there. Usually, if it's abandoned, it'll be boarded up or whatnot. But then you also have the grass divide right there. You'll have a walkway, and then leading right across the sidewalk to the street will be another concrete block. Usually, if it's not there, look for an area that's sunken in and doesn't appear to be natural, because usually that's where the entranceway was to the walkway. Sometimes the house will be there, sometimes it won't. Sometimes the walkway will be right there on the front of the house where the front entrance is. Sometimes it'll be over here on the side. Maybe they'll have two. They'll have one right there and one right there. So, and the same aspect to this area still applies to this area. So you have two entrances. So actually, what I do when I first get to a vacant lot is I look for old trees. So let's say maybe there'll be an old tree right here, or right here, or anywhere really, maybe over here. And that's usually a good indication, sometimes in the backyard, back here. Old trees, I'm talking about 50 to 100 years old or older. That's usually a good indication where people would have hung out. So pay close attention to those. But when I first get on to a vacant lot, I usually start somewhere along right here, because if there wasn't a fence there, people would cross right there. So, and then what I do is I go down. So I go down and up and down and up and do that, and then I'll go crossways. You know, usually this side of the house I do last, because usually there's not as much traffic. But I'll do the backyard too, especially paying attention to where the back entrance would have been. And then right here too, where the garage is. Because usually people are trying to look for their keys and stuff like that. They're pulling their keys out. Maybe they're drunk. Maybe they're not paying attention. And they drop a lot of things along here. So you'll be able to figure that out real quick. With the trees, you gotta go in concentric. That's what I use when I do trees. You go concentric. So you do that right there. And then you go out and you do that. Maybe 4 to 5 feet integrals or whatever. And then you go out like that. Again. And the same here and here. And I haven't done a lot of grass strips between the street and the sidewalk. I don't find that respectful. Maybe I'll do that more on the vacants. I just don't like doing that when there's houses around. People don't usually like that. So, but I do that, and then I pay close attention to to right here, because maybe you're gardening and then you cut across here and you go there, or you're just walking or whatever. People like to take shortcuts. But I do find a lot of my stuff in the front yard. So just typically right here, so say typically on a front yard, I'll find most of my stuff right here, and then I'll go to the backyard and do that. So I just want to explain that a little bit, and then like I said, like usually like a lot of the great finds that I find are usually right here. So I don't know why that is. People just like hanging out. The other cool thing is, if you have a vacant lot where there's kind of like a little hill that goes up to like the flat part that leads to the house, then that's really great. And usually that'll be like I said, like right here is where the hill would be. So let's say like this is the hill, and then this is the flat part. I always search that first. I have found so many good relics, so many good coins, searching those hills. You gotta remember, people like waters, and they like hills, and they like trees. They just do. I mean, you go into why they do that or whatever. They just do. So pay close attention to that. If there's a little hill, even no matter how big it is, always pay attention to that. I pick up a lot of wheat pennies. I've picked up a lot of my nickels, my old nickels, and my old stuff there. I picked up, like, there was a place where there was a hill right there, and then there was a hill like on the side. It was one of those places that was hill on each side. And actually, like, the house was sitting right here. I found a silver identification bracelet. It would have been like right there, so maybe right by where the entrance would have been. And it was probably an elderly person. They fell down the hill or something. But pay close attention to that. I mean, but typically I find most of my stuff right here in the front yard. So that's just a little diagram of that. Now I'm gonna cut out real quick, and then I'm gonna do a diagram of working on a trail in a wooded area. Okay, so back again real quick. So this is a diagram, or 3 diagrams of working trails in a wooded area. And actually, we can do this and this and this. So you look at these 2 lines in the middle right here, and you look at this one right here. And this is actually a great example from my own experience. So I was working a trail in Theo Worth Park, and we just got in there, and I was working my way up, trail led kind of here or whatever, and then working my way up, and then I saw this intersection that seemed kind of interesting, and then like over here there was a bunch of houses and stuff, and I just figured, you know what, maybe people were walking along there, the trail a lot. So I go up this trail. It's kind of up a hill a little bit, and then there's like a trail, like the trailhead that goes one way, go to the left and to the right, and then I got to about like right here where there's like a T intersection, and I really focused right there, and I went slow, and I got a screaming gold hit, and that was the if you saw my last video, that was the class ring that I found, 10K class ring with the little blue gemstone in it. I found it about 3 to 4 inches down. It was from 1969, so it was a well-traveled path. There was a lot. It was a lot of trash in that area, but I paid attention to what was going on. I got a really weird low 70s, 72 hit on my Garrett AT Pro, if you know anything about that, and that was pretty interesting. So I picked up a gold ring, and I went down the hill, and I started screaming to my friend Dan, who was like over in this area or whatever. So pay a real close attention to the T intersections. Also, when you work in trails, it's not just what's on the trail. Search the trails, obviously, of course, but then there's like a 2 to 3 to 4 inch area, maybe 5 inches, half a foot area along each side of the trail, because people tend to drop stuff too there, and I found a lot of great coins there, a lot of great shell casings, buttons, knives, things that you would take with you when you're going on a hike. So let's go along here real quick. This is a open area leading into an entrance into a wooded area. That's another great place to search, okay? Because for some reason it seemed like, seemed like people like to dig in their pockets when they're doing that. So from another example of one of my digs, I was out at Theo on a different area, And there was houses over here across the street. Some people used to walk along here, and then there's like a huge pavilion area over here somewhere. So, anyways, people were walking this way actually into the trail, and then I was actually coming from this area. I didn't see this area till later on, but then I realized people came over this area, and then bang, right here, there's a bunch of trees right here. So pay attention to the old trees too. There'll be indications of where maybe somebody would have stopped to sit and rest or something, and would have dropped something. But I got a screaming silver dime hit, and it was a 1903 or 1906 barber dime mixed in with a piece of trash. So it's kind of a weird signal too. And then I got and then about 5 feet from that, I got a nice Tootsie Toy hit. 80s, mid 80s hit, and I dug that I was pretty damaged. So, and then I'm running out of time, so I'll do another thing real quick too. And so I've run across a lot of trails, either in Theo or in Battle Creek or some other wooded parks that I've done. Pay attention to the cross sections. So maybe there's one trail going there straight, and there's one trail going there crosswise. Pay attention to like where the entrances to these areas are. For some reason, people like to drop things around here too. Like I said, I don't know why. A lot of times when you're digging, you'll never figure that out. But usually these areas, or even the whole area right there, is a high potential for finding, especially coins. I mean, I remember I was coming this way from a trail. Actually, not too far away from where I found the gold ring. It was actually up the trail from that. So it would have been on this path going somewhere up there. So anyways, I get in there, and all of a sudden I get a nice silver dime hit. And it ended up being like a 1941 Merc dime. So, and really work the trails themselves. Go slow, dig every hit. I've dug everything from really small buckshot to nice key date wheat pennies to just plated silver spoons, like I said, like on the edge. I remember once I was cutting across there and I found something like right here, I guess, and just really pay attention to that. It just seems like the trails themselves too, and the intersections are really just great places to find great relics and great coins. I mean, of course, you can go through the trees. I found great stuff in there too, but a lot of the stuff is really on the trails. So, and like I said, this isn't for like the pro detector. This is for somebody who's just starting out, who wants ideas of where to go. Make sure they're not state parks. You cannot dig in state parks. That's illegal. You cannot dig in national parks either, I believe. That's illegal. But if you have a park that's inside a city, zone, you can dig those. That's no problem. Just make sure you fill in your holes, because people don't want to be running along a trail or walking in and falling into the hole that you dug because you improperly refilled the hole in. So that's just one thing. I had somebody complain to me about that one time, and she had a dog off her leash, and I was going to complain about that, but I just thought it would be childish. So I just said, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll make sure I do that again. And I found everything from rings to old coins, silver coins. I found a 1909 actually key date coin, wheat penny, right on top of the trail. So, a lot of times you get runoff from storms and stuff like that. So pay attention. Always have your eyes open. Don't get into that zone. I know sometimes we get into where you just kind of zone out and not pay attention, because I found a lot of great things just right on top of the trails too. So that'll wrap it up for right now for doing vacant lots and trails and woods. I'll be coming up with some more stuff as I think about it. So happy hunting. Fill your holes. Have a lot of fun. For those new detectorists, don't get discouraged. The more you dig, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you find. So get out there and dig, propagate our sport, and like I said, good luck. Bye.